Barry Leonard has been the radio voice of Cornell athletics for over 20 years.
5 seconds in the game. Off it goes to Whitman with 3, with 2. Whitman for the win. He got it! Whitman! It's Cornell wins! Cornell wins in overtime!
Being the eyes and ears of Cornell fans for some of the greatest moments in Big Red history.
91-88 is the final on a Ryan Whitman winner at the buzzer.
At Cornell, as the seasons change, so does Leonard's job title. In the fall, he broadcasts CU football.
Back to throw Amrine. He's looking left. He hitches the arm. He's throwing off a little flutter ball. Caught by Tasker, who leaps, and they're going to rule it a Big Red touchdown.
The winter means men's basketball, and come spring, he calls the action for Cornell men's lacrosse.
At the midfield line, picked up by Mike Huttner. Ahead it goes to Rob Pennell. Red have the numbers. Pennell shoots, and Pennell on the right wing will rifle it home. 3 Cornell goals, 2:08 into our lacrosse game.
He has such enthusiasm for Cornell athletics, whether it's football or basketball or lacrosse. He puts in that same amount of dedication, enthusiasm for any of those broadcasts.
He's tremendously talented, but what really comes across with Barry is his passion and his interest level in the student athletes. And at Cornell, that's so important because athletics isn't dominating the landscape at the university. It's definitely a piece of the educational puzzle.
For the most part, I would say a good 75% of the time, radio or the internet for Cornell is, the exposure that a lot of the out-of-town people and the locals have in terms of the broadcasts. And I realize that, and it's a big audience, and it's in my mind a responsibility to give them the best that I have.
Right side Gray, he'll hoist, go off the rim. No, leaping offensive rebound, a big slam to answer. The putback, he is strong enough.
Since his first Cornell broadcast in 1982, Leonard, an Ithaca College graduate who goes by his given surname Lowenhar outside of the radio booth, has become synonymous with Big Red athletics, calling games both home and away on WHCU and Cornell's online Redcast.
When you've been around a place 21 years, you tend to, develop, a fondness, of course, but a passion.
A busy schedule for a broadcaster, even busier for someone who also works full-time as a pharmaceutical salesman.
I have a very supportive wife and daughter, especially my daughter, because she grew up with Cornell athletics, so she kind of saw me come up through the ranks, and she comes to all the home games.
Barry maps out his schedule so far in advance. I think he's often frustrated that it takes us so long to produce schedules for him so that he can map out his travel schedule.
The winter gets very challenging because of the way the Ivy League schedule is set up, particularly in league play. When you play Friday, Saturday nights, you leave Thursday night with the team. So not only are you taking time away from your family, but you also have to, in my case, use vacation time, to cover that type of travel.
I usually open each pregame show, particularly after a Cornell win, with a highlight from the previous games. I have that.
Despite his hectic schedule, Leonard always follows the advice of the late John Wooden. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
I would argue that there are few coaches in the Ivy League, in any of the sports, basketball, lacrosse, or football, that might prepare as long and as hard for a game as Barry Leonard does.
Football probably takes me 3 to 5 hours a week just of individual preparation on my game board. Basketball, probably about 2 hours. Lacrosse, about an hour and change to do because it's not as taxing. You don't have as many players as you would with football. But the preparation's meticulous.
Leonard takes great pride in the countless hours of preparation he puts into each broadcast, developing an in-depth spotting chart for each team. Thorough prep allows him to focus his attention to the game action down on the field. He's able to identify a player and his number simply from memory.
Some people say that they call it the Michelangelo. I like to pretty much, highlight certain offensive statistics.
He puts so much time and effort and preparation into it because of the pride he has in Cornell athletics and ultimately the student athletes. And that's the other thing that few people would realize about Barry, unless they know him, then it comes shining through, is he cares about those student athletes as people.
Traveling on road trips with us, He eats meals with us, he's on the bus, he interacts with our guys, you know, he gets to know their nicknames. Sometimes he creates nicknames on his own. But I think really what separates him from maybe some other broadcasters is the personal relationships that he's able to develop with our guys, with the time that he spends with them.
He weaves himself into the fabric of that team. And I mean, it's an unbelievable strength. It's an unbelievable example that you look at as a professional, whether you're a coach or a salesperson or the broadcast. You look at it and say, well, this guy is detail-oriented and prepared.
Cornell competes in the Ivy League, but in the last few years, Leonard has found himself preparing for games played on a national stage.
Spinning on the dribble, angles left wing, pull-up jumper! Robleski, deep right baseline, off the foot from the left.
I've been fortunate with basketball, you know, the amount of venues that we've been able to travel to over the 21 years.
Kentucky leading Cornell. Robleski comes left. He'll stop, pop, and knock down a three. Robo, who had his
Cornell's run in the 2010 NCAA men's basketball tournament took Leonard to the Jacksonville Veterans Memorial Arena in Florida, before ultimately ending in the Salt City.
I always wanted to be a basketball announcer. You know, I mean, I love doing football, I love lacrosse, but, you know, I was, in my mind, born to broadcast basketball. And to go on what was just a magic carpet ride, that entire season just culminating in those two games, and then to end up in the Carrier Dome, you know, a week later, and looking around the Carrier Dome and seeing it about 3/4 red.
Before calling it a career, Leonard hopes to announce a Cornell lacrosse national championship victory and his 1,000th Big Red game, a feat he expects to achieve by the end of the year. Jeremy Menard, NCC News.
Let's take another break. We'll come back. More from Ken Entenmann, the lineups and the face-off. It's Cornell Lacrosse on News Talk WHCU.